Hi, it's Fountain, and today I'm going to talk about working through frustration. Now, before I go too much further into this, I just want to disclaim I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't have any kind of qualifications as such. I'm just sharing some particular steps that may help with frustration. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I have noticed that it's an emotion that has come up a lot for for the collective, if I can call it that. Basically, it's a lot for humans at this point in time, and it has been that way for majority of this year. And obviously, frustration can come up in a number of different ways, and there is obviously a number of different ways that people will need to work through frustration. And that's obviously going to depend on person to person. But anyway, firstly, I want to start with step one, or what I would consider step one, which is actually noticing and being aware that that's the emotion that you're experiencing. So I guess some people might call it like an emotional intelligence. And when you're noticing that, you probably obviously want to breathe through it. So the next step I'd want to say would be to either talk about it. I guess the people are different in the way that they need to, release it. So some people like to talk about it. Some people need to move through the body. So that could be through dance or through, punching a punching bag to kind of get it out, because you don't want to just notice it and then not process it, because it can cause issues later if you're not actually dealing fully with the process of noticing and releasing. Won't go too much into that, but I thought it just a good point to make. Now, obviously, when you're talking about it or when you're releasing it or whatever, you want to or you maybe just might even want to sit with it. Like some people just want to sit with it and just notice it, and maybe there's some other kind of expression of the body that comes up to crying or shouting or whatever, and you want to see if you can find out where it actually comes from. So often it could be just some kind of pattern of trauma triggers that causes it to come up, right? It could be a recurring thing, or maybe it's just something that appears different but is actually still related to a very similar pattern that you have with frustration. So excuse the helicopter noise. The next step I would consider would be to be taking responsibility. Getting out of that kind of victim mindset of, oh, this happened to me, and oh, la la, okay, right. Is there something that you can do to help with it? Is it something as simple as, do you just need to drink some water? Do you need to go for a walk? Do you need to do some meditation? Are you being too hard on yourself? Are you removing yourself from the situation? What is it that you're finding that you're helping create the situation? What can you do? What is actually in your control of what you can do in the situation, and just really sitting with that and observing what that could be with you. Obviously, for some people, especially if you like talking it out, having someone with you through the process can be really helpful as kind of like a mirror through it. Although I'm also aware that it's not always healthy to rely on someone else to help you process your emotions all the time. Yes, it's very handy, but it's not always good to always be reliant on others. Sometimes there's things where you're just going to have to deal with it on your supposed alone. I say that, but you're not really ever alone. You know what I mean. And then I guess the next phase would be going into things like appreciation, gratitude, and love. What is it that you might be really frustrated about something that could appear to be really small, it could appear to be really big, but what are things that you really appreciate with your life and where you are, or even in that moment. And the next phase I would say would be maybe observing if it's an opportunity for you to hold now another perspective about something, or to learn a lesson from something. I know that this may not be important for everyone. For me, I get a lot of excitement out of like, what can I learn from these things? You know, even if they may feel really uncomfortable and I really didn't want to have to go through it, or I really didn't want to have to experience it, whatever. Often I find afterwards I'm then like, oh, cool, now I've got another perspective on something, and also now I've learnt some more things about how I can conduct myself, and how I can, not just with myself, but with others, supposed others around me, you know, whether they be with just the environment or people in general. So yeah, and then the next one, it's more like a reminder just to be kind to yourself. Like when you notice things like frustration, or I mean, even any kind of emotion that comes up that you don't feel comfortable with, to not be so hard on yourself. Like, it's okay, it's not the end of the world as such. And don't try to bypass it as well. Like, if you're kind with yourself about experiencing these things, you're probably less likely to bypass it and only try and sit with the rainbows and the glitter and whatever, because that is unhealthy as well, as we, I'm sure, so you know. So yeah, this is, I guess, what I would consider some ideas around how to work through frustration. And I'm also open to other people sharing their own ideas about that. You're welcome to in the comment section down below. There's also other social media links that you'll find in the description box down below that you're more than welcome to click on and explore some of my other content, or even just connect up as well online. And I will see you in the next vlog.